Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Timothy Adon, composer by day, gamer by night, and it has been a long time since I put up another audio adventures video. So I am going to change that. Now, why has it taken me such a long time? I had been working on a Kickstarter that I started, and I'm fairly certain I put up a video for that on YouTube. If I didn't, then I'm very sorry. But yeah, so I've been working on that, and it hasn't necessarily been successful, but that is still what I'm going to talk about in this episode, is what the benefits are of using Kickstarter, is it right for you, and on top of that, what it did for me, and yada, yada, yada. So, first off, my Kickstarter project. I made a project to write Eastern-themed fantasy music for role-playing games as background music. So it's going to be 6 tracks, and actually, here it is, right there. 6 tracks that are 10 minutes long each and loopable. And during the 30-day period of the Kickstarter, I was working on it as well as advertising the Kickstarter. And obviously, I didn't make it. I was about halfway there with 29 backers. But that is okay. As nice as it would have been for the Kickstarter to succeed, I've learned a number of valuable lessons. And I will go over those in just a moment. But first, I want to talk about how to start a Kickstarter, because it's not completely intuitive. So, first, let's go over to this screen. You're going to hit Start. You're going to hit Start a Project when there... Oh, there we go. Now, you're going to be able to pick anything you want. I'm just going to say music and the title, Test. Continue. So now, you have the main editing screen, and you will be able to, for the duration of your Kickstarter, once you actually launch it, you will be able to get there from this screen. But once your Kickstarter is done, successful or not, you won't be able to get there, which is why there's no option on Edit Kickstarter. So you'll have the editing screen. So you'll start with the basics. You'll have the image that everybody is going to see when they first see your Kickstarter, your title, your category, subcategory if you want to have one, and then the 135 character blurb that you usually see as a description of your project when you are searching for projects to back. Location, if you feel like putting it in there, how long you want it to be. I had mine be 30 days. And then your total funding goal. You want to make it something that is reasonable, and the goal that you ask for is going to vary based on what your actual, based on why you are doing a Kickstarter in the first place. So, my reason, well, I had a couple different reasons. One was advertising, and 2 was to help take more classes. Some people will use it as a way to do business, not just for advertising. Some people will use it as a way to start their projects and get it manufactured for actual retail. And some people use it as a way to do retail, but without an actual store. So they'll use Kickstarter as kind of their store, which obviously kind of sounds very weird, but it's a very interesting business strategy. So depending on what your reason is, you should do your funding goal as such. Then you have your rewards. Add another backer reward, what the pledge amount is going to be, the description, estimated delivery date. You need to put in an estimated delivery date. And that's just going to be when are the rewards going to be done and shipped. Story. This is where you put your video, and this is also where you put your entire project description. And I didn't know this at first, but all the projects that have add-ons and stretch goals, all of those also go into the project description. There isn't a separate section for that. That all just goes into the project description in bold. Something that other projects do, and actually I should mention right here, is they will do a graphic, like a JPEG graphic of their description and add-ons and things like that. And the way that they do that is they make it a picture and they add it as an image. Now, adding anything on this is difficult. Kickstarter is very picky with the files that you put in here. And I don't know if it was just me or if it also happened with everybody else, but whenever I tried to add in audio, I would fit, you know, it says it'll take AAC or MP4s or MP3s with a 50 megabyte file limit. It wouldn't take any of my files, and they were all fitting those parameters. And I don't really know why. So instead, I use SoundCloud, and I put the URL in, and that's just as good because it puts a big, like very big, it'll take up a fair amount of real estate, SoundCloud player for people to listen to, and you can do multiples of those. And then same thing for videos when I did updates, and I'll go into that in a little bit. Same thing, I might have a video that fits these parameters, or I might not, depending. And instead, I just upload it to YouTube and put the URL in, and it'll put in a little YouTube player. Pictures were really difficult. It says it has a 50 megabyte file limit. Don't believe it. I had a file that was 48 megabytes, and it wouldn't load until I shrunk it down to about 25. And then it would finally take it. So just be wary of that. And then you have your risks and challenges. Just put something in there about your risks and challenges. And then this card changes. And then you have to connect to Amazon. Make sure you do this early on because it's going to take you a few days. Because the way that they do their payments is they use Amazon as their third party for taking all of the payments, and then Amazon then takes that and gives it to you. And you need to have an Amazon account set up so that they have an account to put the money into. So make sure you get this done as soon as you can, because it can take a little while and it takes some preparation. So once you have all of that, you hit preview, and you'll have a couple different options. You can either just launch the project immediately, or you can have Kickstarter review it. I had Kickstarter review it, and something that you should note is that if you have a set date that you want to start your Kickstarter, make sure you plan in a few days for Kickstarter to review it if that's what you want to do. And really, I don't know what the benefits are of that. At the very least, they'll check to make sure you aren't breaking any rules, but I don't know if they do anything else for you. After that, you launch your project. Once you've done all that, your screen is going to look like this. Now, before I continue, and I probably should have mentioned this before I closed the window, setting up your Kickstarter takes a lot of work because you want to make sure that it is as good and engaging as you can make it. And there are certainly plenty of examples on Kickstarter of ways not to do your Kickstarter. And I took about a month making sure that every word was as good as I can, like every single word was in here with purpose. And that all of my tracks were spaced out so that it didn't look clunky. And also in the, you can preview what your Kickstarter looks like, and you can get a link that you can send to friends so that they can see what your Kickstarter is going to look like before you launch it. And don't be afraid to do that. I think every single time I made even the smallest change to my project before I launched it, I would paste the link on Facebook and have all of my friends look at it so that they could give me advice. So don't be afraid to do that. Now, once your Kickstarter begins, this is what the screen is going to look like. And there will be one more link here, and it's going to be Edit Project, and that's what the other screen that I showed you is, because if you need to make any changes, then you can do so. So, post-update. You want to try and post updates as often as possible to show people that you are actually doing something. And after your Kickstarter is over, whether you succeeded or failed, you can still post updates, which is why I have this here. Because if your Kickstarter fails, you don't pay any money, nobody else pays any money, and you can just relaunch the project at some point if you wanted to. So this is where you can talk to people. You put in the title, you put in what you're going to say. If you have any audio links that you want to put in, images or video, then you put them here, just like when you're first creating your Kickstarter. You save and preview, which gives you the ability to preview, and then you can post it. When you post it, you have 30 minutes to edit anything that you need to, after which point it's all permanent and you can't change it anymore. There's Edit Project, which I showed you already. Anything in your project can be changed at that point, like what I did with my Kickstarter was I would post up updates for all the tracks that I was writing. So if I changed anything, I'd delete the link, the SoundCloud link, and I would put in the new SoundCloud link and post it so that everybody could listen to what the changes were. And then other things that you have, check dashboard. This is where you can check all of the where all of your backers are coming from, what the average pledge amount is, how much they're pledging, what they like. So you can kind of try and tailor your Kickstarter during the project period. Then you have backer reports, but I'm not going to show that because that has the name of all of my backers on there. So that would be a bad idea. You can view messages, so anybody that sent you messages about your Kickstarter, and then surveys. This is a link I actually have not hit yet. Okay, so you can create a survey for each individual reward that you can then email to everybody that backed you. And then you can get... if there's any form of anything that they have to make a decision for. Like this one is one track of your choice, not the entire soundtrack. So you'd create a survey asking them what track they want, and what file type they want, and etc., etc. And just make sure that you keep on posting updates, answer any questions if anybody posts in the comments. And yeah. And that's basically how Kickstarter works. You'll have until your time goes up, so like 30 days on average, before your Kickstarter is over. If you succeed, yay! If you don't, well, you can always try again, and maybe you learned a valuable lesson, so you can figure out why the Kickstarter wasn't a success. So what did I learn about Kickstarter, and what did it do for me? In the end, I really wanted the Kickstarter to succeed, obviously. But even though it didn't, I still ended up gaining out of it. And the amount of advertising I did for the Kickstarter actually ended up giving me a commission job for a video game, which is fantastic. That's what I want to do. So I went in expecting one thing and got something else that was a little bit better. And on top of that, I got to make sure you advertise a lot. That is very important. You need to put more work into advertising your Kickstarter than to actually working on the project that you are using the Kickstarter for. Because I obviously did a lot of work on the music during that 30-day period, but it's very important that you keep on advertising so you can get more backers. And one of the places I advertised was on the Order of the Stick forums. And for anybody that doesn't know what that is, Order of the Stick is a webcomic based around Dungeons and Dragons role-playing. And it's a lot of fun. I read that webcomic. But I hadn't really been on the forums all that often until I decided that I wanted to try and spread out the link to my Kickstarter. And I never expected advertising my Kickstarter to turn into such a big discussion. And if anybody from that community is watching this, thank you so much for being awesome. Because they ended up giving me a lot of advice on where else I should advertise, what else I should do, and what things I should change, and overall helping me out, and it was fantastic. So definitely don't. When you advertise frequently and in many different places, But when you do, make sure if you post on forums to double check all of your forum posts so that you can answer any questions, because you never know what's going to come out of that. And what I ended up learning was, because I built this, or I made the Kickstarter so I could write music for background music for role-playing games, tabletop role-playing games. And somebody mentioned that I should advertise for video games as well, because something that newer game developers need are looping tracks that they can get licenses for, or even not licenses for. So I started advertising on video game forums and game engine forums like Unreal and Unity. And that was where I ended up also getting a job. So one thing led to another, which led to another, which then helped me out in the long run. So is Kickstarter for you? Maybe, maybe not. Is it for every project? Definitely not. And can you use it to your advantage? Almost definitely. It entirely depends on the project. I mean, there are other crowdsourcing areas that you can use, some of which might be better for what you're doing than Kickstarter. Kickstarter is entirely for bringing art projects to life, whether it's board games, video games, music, art, or food, which happens to be something that's incredibly popular nowadays. And it's a great experience if you feel like you can do it, but don't go into the whole crowdsourcing thing expecting to not have to do a lot of work. You still have to do a lot of work just to maintain the like the Kickstarter page. And certainly don't try to do more than one Kickstarter at once, because then you will start falling behind and it'll make all kinds of people unhappy. And the last thing you want to do is make your backers unhappy. You want to keep them as happy as possible. And you can definitely learn a lot, and depending on your reasons for using crowdsourcing, you never know what you might actually get out of it. Like, I got commission work out of my Kickstarter, and obviously I still plan on finishing all of this music and putting it on my Bandcamp account to then sell. And a number of my backers said that they would back me again if I were to relaunch the Kickstarter, or purchase it directly if I finish the tracks. So between that, all these wonderful people that I ended up meeting on my Kickstarter, as well as the commission work that I got, I feel that even though it wasn't a success, it was a success in another way, and that's totally fantastic. So if you don't feel like you can do the work, then I probably wouldn't suggest it. But if you can, you should probably go for it, because if nothing else, it helps get your name out there, and it gives you a little bit of work experience, and you never know who you're going to meet. So if you have a project that you want to start, go out and do it. Until then, I'm Timothy Adon. Thank you very much for watching this episode, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to talk to you again very soon. Bye-bye.